The morning. That particular morning she woke up with the dawn, as if the sun rising was her cue, as if the sun itself called her sweetly to watch him command the world. She looked out her window and saw colors swirl and shift, and clouds rise and twist. It was a fantastic miracle to her. She experienced the sunrise as if she were touching it. This morning she had a song in her heart. She had an old jitterbug memory, a honky-tonk song that kept repeating in her head over and over. She danced all night in her dream. She was back at the Lido Club. She had on a white cotton peasant top and a black ribbon around her neck, and her hair was jet black again, touching her neck as she twirled or as she threw back her head to laugh. She could feel her hair touching her neck, soft and full. In her dream, a black rayon skirt fell nicely as she danced. When she moved, it flowed, its hem touching her partner's leg as he drew her close. She danced in her dream. And when she woke up, she had a honky-tonk song in her head. She wanted to toss her legs on the side of the bed, twirl one more time, and dance down the hall. She wanted to jump out of bed like a young girl. But she couldn't. Not today. She imagined she could feel her legs. Raise her legs, bend her legs. Her mind thought that it was all possible. But her legs refused to respond. These days were curious to her, as her body, like an worn-out machine, began to stop responding, ignore its job, ignore her commands. She was sick, getting sicker, weak, getting weaker. Yet, inside, she felt like herself at 13, and that feeling was growing. She knew she wasn't 13 and hadn't been for a long time, but the memory of her 13-year-old self was powerful and it felt real. In her 13th year, she rode her father's horse on the sly. She would sneak out of the house late at night and take him through the hills in the dark of the evening, galloping at full speed. At 13, she could whistle using her 2 fingers. She climbed a tree, fished in the creek, ran faster than any boys in town. She ran for the fun of running, for the joy of running. She'd never been so free. The world was uncomplicated when she was 13. The thought of herself in that hospice, in that bed, unable to move, seemed unreal. She was always surprised and hurt by the way people talked to her, around her, at her. The way they smiled when they spoke of her disease, as if it belonged to her, as if it was her. Her outside body was disconnecting from her inside thoughts and ideas. Every day, she had that 13 feeling growing inside of her, as if a second set of lungs could breathe deep, as if there was a different self, internally energized, ready to do something, ready to get up and run and make coffee, ready but not willing. Her thoughts could not connect to her body. They were separate, internal and external. And the body was failing. As time went on, the dichotomy prevailed. As time went on, she cared less and less for what people said or did around her. All that was her, all that she could call herself, was an internal presence of mind, one that she had to focus to keep, one that was inside herself. It reminded her of a dream, as if she were making her dream life real and her real life a dream. It was as if she was being forced to live in two worlds. One consisted of a sick bed, nurses turning and pricking in her non-responsive body, interns throwing off her covers indifferently as if she was not allowed modesty, doctors walking in at odd hours to show students her blackening skin, bruises, and non-responsive reflex. No one asking permission to enter her room. In her current external life, she had no rights. She was an object, a thing, a problem. But she learned she could sleep or close her eyes and there would be an escape for her. The internal self would project moments of memories and remind her that she was human, remind her who she was. Each night she would dream of physical activity, running, jumping, dancing, and it all seemed so real. Each morning she woke up trapped in a rapidly immobile frame, which seemed unreal. One day, after her daughter visited, her second daughter. She had 3 daughters, but the middle one was the type of woman who found life terribly difficult. Everything was an opera, and this daughter thought she was the tragic diva. The visit started with the daughter's self-centered tangent of how unfair he was or they was, and it went on. Then, like a radio player with bad reception, it began fading into silence. Meanwhile, she was upright in bed, seemingly awake, eyes open, smiling. As the daughter's voice faded, she, with eyes open, for the first time, just escaped. And when she did, she found herself in a multicolored dream place, and in her 13-year-old body, running and laughing. And in that place, she was playing tag with a younger girl, maybe 10 years old. And the younger girl had on corduroy knickers and long, wild, dish-botter blonde hair. And they were both laughing and playing in the field of tall grass and wild, brilliant flowers. And it took some time for her to bring herself back to the hospice, to the second daughter's diatribe. But during the visit, she would fade in and out, and it seemed like her second daughter didn't even notice. It was as if there was a dial, and it was being turned. And at once she could go and play in the field, and at the same time, like a puppeteer, make her sick-bed self respond and smile and say, "Oh, poor dear," or "Could you imagine?" She could be in the sick bed and be in the field at the same time. The strange thing was, this time, the whole experience was shared by the little girl she was playing with. They would both stop and laugh and look at each other when the sick bed self spoke. The girl was real. She was a friend. And she knew. And they talked by thinking. The next day, she tried to control her access to the other place, to the waking dream place. In a moment she could be there and then return, or sometimes she could be both places at once again. It was different than a dream, and it felt different, but it was like another life. She experimented as the days passed. She would move. They would move or change her bedding, bathe her, and she would leave her dying body as if it was a shell, and she would close her eyes and be gone, and she would interact or move in the other place and then watch herself from the other place. She was living 2 lives concurrently, and they were both really real. Now it didn't matter that her body at the hospice was weaker, that her hands were becoming useless, that her speech was slurring, that she was missing words in her sentences. It didn't matter, because when she wanted to go, she could go to that technicolor place and interact with people and animals and unusual beings she discovered there. Each time she went to that place, the surroundings would change and evolve. Sometimes she would find herself in a house or a room or outdoors. Sometimes the sky would be green and the grass red and the leaves purple and yellow trees that spoke as you walked past them. She would be 13, then 6, then transform into liquid, then spirit, then fly into deep blue skies and become the skies, then return to a pasture in the form of a horse and run with her long mane flowing in the wind. She was having conversations with people and beings there unlike any conversation she had ever had before. And when she left, they continued to watch her, and they were anxious, seemingly anxious for her to return. She no longer wanted to be in the body in the hospice. She no longer wanted to have the sensation of that shell. She was excited. She exited one life in stages and discovered the other had no end. When she realized what was happening, she got emotional, sad. Doctors, wheelchairs, surgery, despair. Watching her daughters and son look at her with such pity and helplessness, they wept, they were brave, they were confused. She was proud, unable to respond, unable to move or speak or comfort them. Sometimes wanting to just live on earth, wanting to be healthy again, to fight for her life, but unable to do anything at all. It was like she was on a train, pulling away from a station. The other life got stronger, brighter, and the strange idea that somehow she was there all along, all her life, kept coming to her mind and flirting and flickering in her mind. The other experience absorbed her in stages, and she knew when it was time. She knew the exact day. She had to force herself to go back to the hospice. One last visit to her motionless life. Back inside, one last time. To make eye contact with her children, those busy, hassled adults. Watching her with worried faces, her mouth unable to express to them the truth of her exit, her eyes finally closed to release her pain. And when she did, she felt the hand of her dishwater blonde playmate pull her to the field. Wanting to look back, unable to turn herself in that direction, she left only the flicker of an eyelid and a hint of a smile. She faced a new life and saw everyone there all at the same time, as if everything is a dream.